I swear there's a sun outside. Where it is right now, I couldn't tell you. It's been cloudy, it's been gloomy, it's been rainy at times. And to be quite honest, it kind of sucks. I miss the sun. I'm like Superman. I need my energy. I need my sun. It is some degrees outside. I don't know what you want to call it. It is, well, it's supposed to be 40, I believe, or approaching 40, but yeah, look at it. It looks like trash. With that being said, here we are coming to you live, 34 minutes past the hour. Good morning! Good morning, y'all. What's up? Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Oh, I'm not even wearing my glasses. My glasses. Where are my glasses? I don't need glasses. I can see. I'm lucky and blessed enough that I could still see without glasses. But I wear these blue light glasses because I stare at the screen all day. Well, mostly all day, a good amount of time. And I notice it does kind of it loosens the tension that I usually get and the tiredness in my eyes. When I'm always staring at the screen, especially for long periods of time. And what I like about these, I got this from a Japanese company, is that it doesn't have any tint. You know, like you have those gunner glasses that a lot of gamers use, or people who are marksmen at the range. You know, it has like that yellow tint, which is supposed to help in a way, but I find it extremely annoying. Plus, when I'm looking at something, I want to be able to see the colors that are being represented, especially if I'm doing video work or some graphic work. When it's yellow tinted, it's kind of hard to see that stuff. You know, it gets all mangled and all misconstrued. Love my coffee. Makes me feel good.
I'm gonna come. Wow.
So I like these because there's no tint and there's no magnification. So it's just basically like 1-to-1, and it just helps filter out the blue light. Oh, I'm sure all of this is fascinating, and you love hearing me ramble about blue lens filtered glasses and yeah, blah, blah, blah. Good morning, y'all. We made it halfway through the week. Only a couple more days to go before the weekend. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. Hope you're not letting the winter season drag you down. And hopefully you're not suffering too much from the seasonal depression. I know a lot of people who suffer from seasonal depression, and it's hard. It's hard when you have days like I mentioned, like today, when you go and look outside and it's gloomy, and this is what you wake up to every day. I get it. It's tough. But hang in there. It's not that bad. You know, like I'll admit, even myself, I have, this is the first year I could say that I feel it. I feel kind of like that lull, that drag, that it looks like shit outside. What the hell am I doing here? You know, kind of thing like that. But I just, you know, I push on through. I try to get through it and all. Yeah, so hopefully you're not suffering too badly from that stuff, and hopefully you are doing okay. So here's a mental health check into all of you. How are you doing? Are you okay? Obviously, I am here for you this morning to get your mind off of things, and let's have some fun and talk about some crazy shit. And what are we talking about today? So, on the pop culture / movie news front, it's been a little slow, a little bit. Nothing too crazy. But there's some certain headlines that kind of popped up. that I did kind of want to talk about and kind of quickly just touch base on some interesting stuff that broke this week. You have Family Guy, as of today, this morning, celebrating their 25th anniversary. I can't believe Family Guy's been around that long. And to be quite honest with you, it wasn't always supposed to be that way, and we'll talk about some of that this morning. Millie Alcock, for those of you House of Dragon fans like myself, happy to hear that she was announced as the new Supergirl for James Gunn's new DCU. So that's some exciting stuff there from interesting things. We'll talk about that. Pokimane. We don't really talk about YouTube or streaming drama here. I do indulge in it from time to time. Pokimane has always been one of those personalities I found fascinating, not because of her, not because I'm a simp or anything, just the way she carries herself in her business. But she announced she's leaving Twitch after 10 years. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk more about other headlines and the like. And we'll be talking about my Binge of the Week show that I watched. And maybe that's why I'm a little late this morning, because I was actually finishing up last night. I wanted to make sure I was able to fully talk about it in this morning's show. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being here, whether you're watching live or if you are watching on the replay. Obviously, it would be great. Leave your comments. Love to have conversations with all of you. Let yourselves be known. Or if you just want to, lurk and just watch, then that's perfectly fine too. But if you're going to do that, at the very least, hit that like button, because that helps with the algorithm thingies here on YouTube and what have you. It really helps go a long way and all that stuff. Sorry for being late this morning. I know I usually go live at 10, but like I said, had a late start. Probably because I slept late last night, finishing up this show that I'm going to be talking about today. And it's not a show that I think you're expecting me to talk about either. So that's a nice little hint at you, so that you know exactly what you're getting yourselves into and all that. So let's talk about the headline news. All right. This is a portion of the morning where I sit here and read headlines, because why do that alone when you could do that online? And I'll be drinking my coffee, and maybe you're having your coffee as well. Nectar of the gods. Am I right? What's better than coffee? All right. First headline I want to talk about and get out of the way here is this Pokimane situation here. And I'm sure there are a lot of folks out there, probably in their 20s, late teens, sure, early 30s. And of course, you're going to have a handful of those in their 40s and 50s are crying right now and bleeding tears because their woman is leaving Twitch and will not be streaming in the near future. Pokimane. I have no history with Pokimane. I've never watched Pokimane. I only know her from excuse me, clip outs, other YouTube drama. But I do have an opinion because of just the way I see herself handling situations, especially on the business side of things. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have had the second dosing of frog this morning. But Pokimane is one of those interesting streamers that started long time ago, around the perfect time to start YouTube and streaming and Twitch and all that, when the field wasn't so saturated. She became a very, obviously early adopter to all of that stuff. And, obviously you have a lot of simps out there who love her so much, and they, supported her despite all the drama that she's involved in, despite the way she handles her business behind the scenes. She's definitely one of those girl boss bitches. You know, she definitely has that kind of uh mentality, and good on her. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from her on that, but you know, she loves putting on that persona where she's all cutesy and kawaii and all that stuff like that. But then behind the scenes, she's very ruthless, and I think she tries not to show that so much. But it comes out on streaming, and I've seen the clips, especially with this whole cookie madness. Oh, what's up, Star Lord? What's going on? YouTube drama on my mama. Well, hopefully not on your mama, because that would be rude. Yeah, and we'll keep the drama to a minimum here. I mean, we all know Pokimane has this tendency to go out there and start asking YouTube to take videos down of anyone talking badly about her. We don't want that now. We don't want that one bit. So that's why I'm going to keep my comments on her to a minimum. But needless to say, I'm not a fan. I think her business practices are very questionable, especially with the whole cookie drama, Cookie Gate, where she has these Mina snacks or whatever, which looks very much like a rebranded cookie that was once produced, and she just took on over and then put her brand on it and maybe changed some things up, lessen the content, start charging double the price or what have you. So apparently it's lucrative. The cookie business is a lucrative business because she could afford to leave Twitch altogether. So let's just quickly read this article here. Pokimane leaving Twitch. Pokimane, one of Twitch's most popular creators, leaving the platform after 10 years, making the end of an era for the streaming giant. Pokimane did not confirm where she would be streaming following her departure from Twitch, with some fans speculating YouTube or GEEK could sign the creator. I know, I think YouTube is trying not to sign any more people on. I think they're kind of taking steps back from that. So I don't know if there's going to be any huge contracts being signed. I could be wrong. They could change their mind, especially when a personality like Pokimane is available, is on the free agency list. But I'm also sure they want to try their best to maybe possibly avoid another Sniper Wolf situation. Sniper Wolf. Sniper Wolf.
I'm gonna come.
Pokimane's departure is a significant loss for Twitch, which has been facing financial struggles and the departure of other prominent streamers in recent years. I think that's the biggest headline right there. I think that's the main important thing, because Twitch is suffering right now, whether you want to believe it or not. Yeah, I mean, they're getting publicity because of some of their streamers doing well on there. And of course, the usual online drama and this and that. But Twitch has been bleeding money. They haven't been being as successful. Their platform is still not at the level that I think most of their streamers were hoping for. True story, whether you have been following me for the longest time or not, I started out my online kind of quote unquote career on Twitch back in 2020. You know, when everyone else was doing it, I did too. I went on Twitch and I would stream like 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes 5, playing games, playing retro games and all that stuff. And, you know, I grew a pretty decent following. I had like, I think at one point, 1,000 followers, which was fantastic. I had fun. I loved my time there, but I did feel like live streaming that much kind of prevented me from being very creative. I love making videos. I love editing videos. I love being creative in that aspect. And I'm sure you're like saying to yourself, well, why are you streaming now, you idiot? And I was like, well, I don't do this all the time. This is just a morning. This is an excuse for me to sit here with all you fine folks out there, have my morning coffee, look at the news, and talk about it. And then maybe I'll talk about a movie review here and there. Maybe I'll talk to you about what I've been streaming or what game I've been playing, and we'll have a conversation. We'll have fun, right? It's nothing crazy or serious. Starlord saying, I don't follow them, but I heard about it. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. You know, and Twitch is trying. They're trying to change up the platform, change up their policies and what have you. to make it attractive, to make it relevant. YouTube obviously has taken a huge chunk of the market away, but Twitch is one of their main competitors. The only thing that Twitch doesn't do is that they don't really have a decent video on demand library or system. So discovery has always been an issue with creators, which is bad. And that's one of the reasons why I left Twitch after a year. And it's like I prefer YouTube because I prefer having legacy content. I prefer having content searchable, especially with what I do, which is mostly movie reviews and reactions. Like those are things that can be evergreen depending on the property. So I want that to have a home so that people can see that all the time and not do it on a live stream. Hopefully people will watch it in 2 weeks, within the 2 weeks of its time there, and then have it disappear and go away, right? So I just don't like that whole situation. Live stream the good life. For some, I'm sure. For some, it's very lucrative and all that. But yeah, this is going to be a major slap in the face and kind of dagger to Twitch because she was a very prominent streamer on that platform. Let's read the article here. Massively popular streamer Pokimane has confirmed she's leaving Twitch after just over 10 years streaming on the Amazon-owned platform. First starting her Twitch channel in 2013, primarily as a League of Legends streamer, Imane, hence Pokimane, or is it Imane? I'm going to pronounce it Imane. And if she hates that, come at me. Imane Pokimane Anis? That's her last name? Wow. Okay. Anis. Anis.
Wow. I'm going to come.
Okay. Miss Anis quickly became one of Twitch's most popular creators on the platform for her entertaining streams and fun personality. Pokimane's meteoric rise in popularity would see her become the most followed female streamer on Twitch, going on to co-found streamer group Offline TV. Now Pokimane is saying goodbye to the platform that made her famous. While Pokimane started on Twitch as League of Legends creator, she would branch out into a wide variety of content, often playing many of the popular trending games. Pokimane was one of the biggest streamers to jump onto Fortnite during its rise in 2018, and she would later contribute to the massive success of Among Us, starting in late 2020. God, Among Us. I'm so happy for those developers of Among Us. They've made so much money because of the streaming popularity that they should be set. And I feel like any updates that they're doing to Among Us right now is just kind of bonus stuff for them. It's just like, you know what? Hey, let's do this. Let's do that. They're so set. I'm so happy for them. Pokimane even played a part in a high-profile event that saw herself and several other creators playing Among Us with United States Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. However, Pokimane's time on Twitch has apparently come to an end. Let's see here. Twitch streamer Imane, okay, whatever, Miss Anus, announces a brand new company inspired by her healthy living journey and love of yummy snacks. In an announcement posted to her Twitter account, Pokimane shared the news that she will be leaving Twitch as a streamer. While the post did not cite her reasoning behind the decision to depart from the platform that saw her rise to fame, Pokimane expressed gratitude to the site that was her home for a decade. The post also fondly reflects on her time streaming games like the previously mentioned League of Legends and Among Us. Pokimane did not share where she would be taking her streams to. Blah, 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 blah. End of an error. Twitch has been my home for a decade. Blah, 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 this and that. Yeah. Twitch also really prominently promoted her, put her in a lot of marketing. She became a very familiar face, especially to the younger generation. She appeared in that Ryan Reynolds movie. I forgot what it is, where you're like in a massive multiplayer online situation. She was one of the streamers playing. It's like, oh, that's so cute. And again, I'm just poking fun because of, like I said, I really do feel like she has multiple personalities. She has her online persona, right? When she's, oh, I'm so cute and kawaii. Thanks, guys. Here's my cookie. It cost you $40 to buy a small bag of 5 cookies, but you love me. Support me. And then she has her behind the scenes shit where she's calling, her fans broke ass boys because they can't afford the price of her cookies. So, she can go suck a bag if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, let's see. Pokimane's departure from Twitch marks a major shift in the platform, with one of its biggest talents now leaving. The Amazon streaming platform has seen several of its most popular streamers leaving in recent years, with big names like Moist Critical and XQC taking their streams elsewhere. GEEK also taking a lot out of that with Trainwrecks TV. Aiden Ross, Amaranth, who makes all of her money off of OnlyFans. Can you believe Amaranth made $60 million in one fucking year on OnlyFans? That is crazy. Free Guy. Yes, Star-Lord. That's right. Free Guy was the Ryan Reynolds movie. Yes. She has her little thing in there where she's playing this game and like, oh my God, blue shirt guy is crazy. Yeah. But yeah. Amaranth is an interesting character too. And I call her a character because she is basically a character at this point. Where she was a streamer, then she started that whole hot tub streaming thing. She was being very sexualized. And for the longest time, she was claiming that it was her man, whether it was the boyfriend or the husband, was forcing her to do all that stuff. And if she had a choice, she wouldn't do it. They're not together anymore. But what is she doing now? She's doing basically hardcore, softcore porn on OnlyFans. Right? She's still doing her little cosplay, ass shot thing and whatever. So what is it? Is she a victim of her situation, or is she really like that? Who knows? She's an interesting cat, but making that dough, and she's selling her vaginal yeast beer brew. Look it up. It's a real thing. I'm not joking. Let's see here. The loss of one of Twitch's biggest talents comes as the platform's financial struggles have been made more apparent through recent months. Twitch CEO Dan Clancy confirmed earlier this month that Twitch is not profitable, suggesting the company is making moves to downsize and cut costs across the board. Streaming platform also recently confirmed its upcoming end of service in South Korea, which is odd, alongside the impending shutdown of the Nintendo Switch's Twitch's app. Pokimane leaving will likely deal a major blow to an already struggling Twitch as one of its most prolific creators walks away. Why are they ending their service in South Korea when South Korea is probably the biggest hotbed for your League of Legends, for your all of those games? That's crazy. I don't understand that. That makes no sense. But basically, without dwelling so much into this, by the way, I typed in Pokimane eating a cookie and waving to the camera on ChatGPT, and that's what I got. AI. That's what AI gave me. But basically what this is saying is that Pokimane has made so much money that she doesn't have to stream anymore, which I think eventually this is what a lot of these creators want to do. They want to build their brand and make so much of it that they could just coast and do other things. She's going around making her cookies, her expensive ass cookies, right? She's promoting the healthy lifestyle. Star-Lord, me drinking the beer. Hell yeah. I would never. You could pay me $1 million. I would never drink any beer made up of the yeast of someone's vaginal yeast. No. No. Stop. I can't. All the money in the world. You can't give me that. Maybe I'm stupid, but it's just disgusting. Anyway. But I remember she went to Japan recently, and I only seen this because of clip outs. And, if Pokimane is the type of person that is supposed to be the conduit of her generation, right? I'll buy that for $1.
I'm gonna come.
Love it. Love RoboCop references. Um, Here she is living the lavish lifestyle in Japan. You know, I've been to Japan multiple times and I love talking about it all the time. But I love being there as an observer, as part of the culture, as part of the people. She's like living in the top hotels, eating at the most expensive restaurants with her like very niche and cliche type of girlfriends that have all the money in the world, that probably live off of Instagram and all that. And she's like, "Oh my god, I'm in Japan and I'm drinking green tea and I'm doing yoga every day." I'm just like, give it up. Give up this ruse. You don't give a shit. But I'm sure all of your, thousands of simps love that stuff. But basically, at the bottom, at the end of it all, she made so much money that she doesn't have to stream like she does anymore. She has her company. She's going to be focusing on her company. Will she ever come back to streaming? Maybe to do like those occasional streams. Maybe she'll have her network do stuff under her channel brand for her. You know, I have a feeling if she does anything, it's probably going to be on YouTube, because with her type of branding, I don't think she would want to associate with GEEK, because GEEK is definitely more of the stepchild, right? The stepchild of online streaming, where you just have delinquents on that platform running amok, you know? So I really do think that's what's going to happen there. And bravo to her. Let's give it up to boss girl bitch Pokimane for showing women there is a way you could be a boss bitch, make your mark online, you know, make cookies that are overly expensive, and take advantage of your audience. Good job. More power to her. Okay, moving on. Let's get off of this Pokimane train. Pokimane gossip train. Where's my ukulele?
I'm gonna come. Wow.
Okay. The next bit of news I wanted to talk about this morning is this casting of Supergirl. I am really fascinated with what's going on with James Gunn's DC and how it's panning out right now. And on paper, it looks like a fanboy's fever dream with everything that he's done so far. But here's the thing. It could work. It could really work, because he's just crazy enough to try to make it work. It worked with Guardians of the Galaxy, and it definitely worked with his version of the Suicide Squad. So I'm slowly getting really amped about the possibility here. So when they made an announcement yesterday, and this was kind of rumored that there was a back and forth as the casting for Supergirl is concerned, that Millie Alcock was cast to be Supergirl. I was like, ooh, that is a very interesting choice. I didn't see that coming. Star-Lord, I'm not a boss bitch. I'm an employee. That's right. You're an employee on the Pokimane train. The Pokimane gossip train.
I'm gonna come.
That's my new song. I'm gonna make a single out of it, and I'm gonna copyright it so no one else can use it. But let's read about this news for the casting of Millie Alcock. So if you're not familiar with Millie Alcock, she is one of the stars of House of the Dragon there on HBO, the Game of Thrones spinoff. And I thought she was brilliant in that show. I love that series. That series was really well done. And she is one of the main characters there. But we have our new Kara Zor-El. Australian actress Millie Alcock, best known for her role as the young Princess Rhaena Targaryen in the first season of HBO's Game of Thrones spin-off House of the Dragon, will play Supergirl on film for Warner Brothers Pictures. Alcock landed the highly coveted role, which is a part of James Gunn and Peter Safran's new DC universe that will fully flourish in a live-action Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film, currently in the works. Alcock beat out Emilia Jones, who was one of the main stars in Coda, and Meg Donnelly, who starred in The Winchesters, which I've never seen, I've never watched. Was never really a big Supernatural fan for the role. Both she and Donnelly reportedly screen tested recently for Gunn and several execs. The casting is happening now, as it's expected the character will appear in Gunn's about to shoot Superman Legacy in Georgia, though that hasn't been confirmed in full as of yet. She is expected to appear in at least one other DC Universe film before her own solo movie, which doesn't have a director yet and will be based on Tom King's 2022 comic book series, offering a different take on the material. Yeah, I'm happy about this casting, and I think the treatment of this character is going to be done very, I want to say, somewhat similarly to like how they kind of treated Wonder Woman towards the tail end, where she's probably going to be hopping in and out of movies. Obviously, she'll probably make a brief appearance in Superman Legacy, right? And then she'll probably appear in some other movie before getting her own, like they said in the article. And I think that's just how to get people excited for the character. Now, I feel bad for, what's her name? Sasha Kaye, who was Supergirl in the Flash movie. I thought she also did a pretty good job. I don't know which version they're going with as far as Supergirl is concerned, because I've never read any of the comic books. Sasha definitely played one of those, the version of Supergirl that is like not familiar with anything, very defensive, very curious about the world, but at the same time, she has a chip on her shoulder. And then I know there's another Supergirl that is a little bit more upbeat, not as moody, not as emo. But for the version of Supergirl that we got with Sasha, I thought she did a really great job. And I feel bad for her because she had an opportunity to play this character for a long term. But then obviously the DCU, as we know it then, is now completely broken down and gone overall. So I do feel bad about her. But for our new Supergirl, I like this choice a lot. Star-Lord, Supergirl casting choice is good. Yeah, I'm very happy about this casting news. I think she is a brilliant actress. If you haven't seen her in House of the Dragon, I highly recommend that you do. She has many, she can do a lot of emotional takes, and then she has a lot of nuances in her character on that show. So it's really good. But when you boil it down to the first movie off the on the block here is Superman Legacy, and it's very fascinating what we have going on with this without knowing everything yet plot wise and everything. So let's review this cast that we have for Superman Legacy so far. Star-Lord, I wonder if her beer would taste like
Wow.
which version of kryptonite? That's what I'm wondering. Yellow, red, or green? Good morning. Yes. Now here's the thing. I would drink Supergirl's beer.
I'm gonna come.
I would drink that. Starlight Green, of course. Oh, man. All right. Will you be drinking beer off of this cast? Let's see. So right now, Superman Legacy, obviously we already know that David Cornsweet has been signed up for Superman. We also know Nicholas Hoult, another brilliant casting in my opinion, is the new Lex Luthor. Rachel Brosnahan cast as Lois Lane, which I also do think that is a great cast too. She was the wonderful Miss Maisel, which I've never seen, but she definitely looks the part. And the clips I've seen from Miss Maisel, she definitely has that personality that a Lois Lane should have. Skylar Gisondo, Jimmy Olsen, it's like he was made to be Jimmy Olsen. This dude looks like a version, like a comic book to life version. If there was ever a role someone was kind of born to play, I feel like this guy was born to play Jimmy Olsen, because he looks like a spitting image of the Jimmy Olsen in the comic books. But he's also a pretty fantastic actor. I like him in the episodes and seasons I've watched of Righteous Gemstones. I haven't watched it all, but he's really good in that show. I like his character a lot. You have Isabella Merced playing Hawkgirl, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. The fact that we're going to get a Superman movie with Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Metamorpho, played by Anthony Carrigan, who I'm a huge fan of because Barry is one of those greatest HBO shows in recent years that I love so much. And then, of course, you have Sean Gunn cast as Maxwell Lord in the overarching DCU, and he may possibly show up in Superman Legacy. That's amazing. That's really, really an amazing cast. Is it too stacked? I don't know. Maybe. It might be a little bit too stacked, but we all know that James Gunn is really good at ensemble projects. Like I said, he knocked it out of the park with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He was fantastic with the Suicide Squad. The Peacemaker show was brilliant. He's really good with ensembles. But here's the thing. Do we need an ensemble movie for Superman? Many of us has been clamoring for a new Superman movie. And yes, like many people, I too wish we got another Henry Cavill movie. He deserved a lot more. But we're moving on. And I'm sure he's fine with that, with us moving on. So we're moving on. And he's doing other things. He's got a lot of stuff, a lot of projects lined up, what have you. And we now have our new Superman. Are we going to get enough attention on Superman alone in this movie? That is one of my biggest concerns. But we shall see. But right now on paper, it looks like a lot, but it also looks very promising. And now you could add Millie Alcock to the mix of the overall DCU shaping up. And I'm pretty stoked. I'm pretty excited. So I'm very curious. Obviously, Star-Lord loves this casting. For any of you else watching live or watching on the replay later on, let me know what you think about this casting, because I think she is great. And what an achievement for her as a young actress to not only be attached to one of the biggest IPs on streaming history, with Game of Thrones. But now to be attached to a major IP in movies with the DCU and the Superman kind of universe, right? Good on her. And I hope it works out, because I like what I've seen from her, and I think she's going to do a lot of good stuff moving forward. All right. So the third big news topic that I want to talk about this morning is Family Guy. How many of you are still watching Family Guy? How many of you have watched it? I'm curious. I'm more curious as to how many of you are still watching Family Guy right now. Because I'll be honest, I'm not. I stopped watching Family Guy years ago. Not because I didn't like this show. It's just because I moved on to watch other things. And I can't keep up anymore. It's become like The Simpsons, where The Simpsons has been going on for the majority of my life, I feel like. And I feel like Family Guy is getting there, which is fantastic. And for a show that was never supposed to be that way. So it's fascinating that Family Guy is celebrating its 25th anniversary, which is a huge milestone for this property. Star-Lord chiming in, Superman's flying can't even be better than his flying in Man of Steel, but we'll see. Yeah, the way they captured his flying in Man of Steel was brilliant. I thought it was really well done. Uh, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do its justice for sure. I catch Family Guy marathons on YouTube every once in a while. Okay. Yeah, I haven't even done that. If someone brings up like a clip or something that they saw on Family Guy, I will catch it. I'll check it out on YouTube and I'll see it and all that. I used to be a big fan of the Star Wars specials that they did, like Blue Harvest and all that. Like I thought those were, especially since I'm a huge Star Wars fan, I love their take on the Star Wars universe and the parodies that they did there. Really funny stuff. If you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. But Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane reflects on the show's 25th anniversary, still surviving and thriving. There's no indication that the show is going to end anytime soon, according to him. Family Guy made its debut on Fox on January 31st, 1999, with the episode Death Has a Shadow. 25 years later, the animated comedy remains a genre staple, despite getting briefly canceled in 2002. That is what I also wanted to touch base on. This show, when it first came out, had really bad ratings. I think a lot of people didn't know what this show was supposed to be. I think a lot of people didn't understand the type of, humor where it's meme humor before memes became a thing. Now you get this type of meme humor all the time. So I think people are very used to it and they'll probably give Family Guy credit when it comes to a lot of that stuff. But this came out during a time when people were still used to The Simpsons being the staple adult animated fare on primetime television. Family Guy came out, and I think a lot of people were just like, I don't get this. I don't understand the humor here. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really funny. Stewie was this new character that I thought was ridiculous, over the top, kind of like this, kind of neo-Nazi in baby form. I thought was brilliant. How he's always constantly trying to kill his mom, but also still needs her around. How the dad's very aloof to everything, and all he does is rely on his childhood memories of movies and televisions that he flashes back to. I love how the daughter is given no respect. Meg. I remember when they did the Justice League kind of what a Super Friends opening episode where all of a sudden they're like that, and then you have everyone with these like amazing superpowers, and then they just cut the and Meg, and all she has like the nail growing power, and you could just hear like Peter Griffin like stupid Meg, and when I think about that stuff, it's like really hilarious. But then it got canceled very soon after it debuted, and it was never really supposed to come back, But because there was that hidden fan base, and funny enough, it kind of shows you the day and age that we live in now. The sales off of the DVD sets were through the roof and astronomical, that it kind of gave them a chance to come back, and Fox gave them a second chance, and it never stopped since. And it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. But again, it shows you that day and age where DVD sales actually meant something, and it could make or break a business or bring something back from the dead. And in this case, that's what happened here, which is phenomenal. Still striving and thriving, and still a sizable audience, and is a perfect example of there being an appetite for something. So we continue to feed the beast, MacFarlane told The Wrap. There's no indication that the show is going to end anytime soon. Star-Lord chiming in, Seth MacFarlane, instantly a household name. Yeah, which is funny too, because when I first hear MacFarlane, I think of Todd McFarlane, because I was a comic book guy growing up, and Todd McFarlane became a household name to comic book lovers back in the 90s when he had his run on Spider-Man, and then he eventually spawned off with a bunch of creative folk and created their own publisher in Image Comics, and then he created Spawn. So Todd McFarlane has always been that name when I think of McFarlane. Now we have Seth MacFarlane. And I remember when Seth MacFarlane was starting to become popular because of Family Guy, I would always get the two confused. I'll be like, oh, Seth MacFarlane, but I'm talking about Todd McFarlane. Oh, Todd McFarlane, and I'm talking about Seth MacFarlane. It's like, it's crazy, the association we have. But for those who are not comic book fans, then Seth MacFarlane is definitely a name that a lot of people know. Now, obviously, he is attached to the Orville that a lot of people like. He had his hand and tried to do a movie, which didn't work out so great. And American Dad, which is another show that he introduced that also had a very strong cult following. So it's great. Oh, and let's not forget Ted. When he came out with Ted, that became a huge success, and now it's one of the best shows on Peacock streaming service right now. Ted is my friend just told me over the weekend. He's like, Ted is really funny, but it's crazy the amount of F words that are thrown out there, and all that. So, there you go. Fun fact about Ted too. Ted is extremely popular in Japan. When that movie came out, people went nuts and bananas over it because Japanese people love cute things and they love teddy bears. Look at, what is that? At Disney, it was Disney Japan, Tokyo Disney, that created the whole, was it Duffy, the bear, the bear that Disney sells, that it now finally made it to the States. But that was like the number one hot ticket in Japan whenever you go to Disney. Or even if you didn't go to Disney, everyone wanted this damn bear. So they loved their teddy bears, and Ted became huge out there. Now it's a little censored over there, I believe. So a lot of the humor doesn't translate over. But they love that this bear is also kind of raunchy, but raunchy to Japanese standards, right? So McFarlane has been doing very well for himself and has created a lot of these iconic characters. So the article continues to say that McFarlane added that it feels strange to reach the 25th anniversary. I've just been going at a dead run ever since the show premiered. Between then and now just feels like one really long day to me. When asked if he has a favorite episode or joke from the show, McFarlane said, that's a tough question to answer. There's now so much of it that there are episodes that I don't remember, he said. I go back and I look at the show and I have a vague memory of making it. You're faced with the reality of the passage of time, and at some point in the past, this episode, this scene, this moment, frame by frame, was so important that I had to get it exactly right, and now I can't remember what happens next. I mean, there's like 400 of these things. Who can keep track? Ultimately, he believes Family Guy has endured because of its ability to keep audiences laughing, much like Jackie Gleason's sitcom The Honeymooners. I also do feel like it's because it keeps relevant because it knows how to hop onto the topics of the time. When you have shows that kind of joke and parody and be a satirical look at the pop culture landscape and the social landscape, then of course it's going to remain relevant because a lot of people can at least watch a show that pokes fun at the stuff that they see on a daily basis. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's still popular and relevant today. I would never even compare these two shows, but I've always loved the answer that Jackie Gleason gave when he asked about how that show endured with only 39 episodes, and he just said, because they were funny. I don't know that our answer would be any different, McFarlane said. It goes on about that. Family Guy, Alex Bornstein, Seth Green, and Mila Kunis. Which, again, it's interesting that Mila stepped in to be the Meg voice when originally it was a different actress. It was that actress from Mean Girls. Her name escapes you right now. But yeah, if you go back to like the first season, totally different voice. Yeah, so it just goes on and just celebrates the legacy of Family Guy. Starlight, A Million Ways to Die in the West is hilarious. I'm glad you think it's funny because honestly, for me, I didn't think it was that funny at all. I felt very flat to me. But I know there are people who find that movie quite funny. I don't know what it is about me. I've only seen it once, so I wonder if I should go back and revisit it. But I remember leaving that movie feeling the kind of meh. Like I felt like it was very flat humor wise. I thought Charlize Theron was great in it though. I thought she was really really good. But I'm glad you thought it was funny. Maybe I should give it another chance. I don't know. But yeah, Family Guy. I mean, I loved Family Guy when it came out. Like I said before, I own a lot of the original DVD sets, so I definitely did contribute to that whole thing. And I was bummed when it got canceled. And then when it came back, I was like shocked because at that time you didn't really hear about that much. Whoa, hello. You didn't hear or you didn't see a lot of times when a show gets canceled and then gets brought back, right? You at that time you didn't really see that. So I thought that was like really fantastic to see, and I was very happy for them. And yeah, I watched it for quite a bit. I have friends who watched it. We used to quote it every day. I used to, in one of the companies I worked at, whenever it was lunchtime, I would have a break, and sometimes I would play us episodes of Family Guy, or if it was during a season of the Chappelle Show, we would watch an episode of the Chappelle Show from that week. So it was like nice little viewing there that we did at work, and Family Guy was always going to be in my memory as something that I was able to watch and laugh at with my friends and the people I worked with, my coworkers and all. So yeah, so I'm curious, like, what is your favorite Family Guy moment? I know maybe very much like Seth MacFarlane, I would say that is a very tough question because there's just so much to go comb through. I will just say this. I'll just take the easy way out and I'll just say I love the Star Wars parodies. So they did 3 of them from the original trilogy. Those were my favorites, Family Guy moments there. So yeah. And I'll never forget the kind of the cut to moment where Peter Griffin was talking about the Kool-Aid Man. And we're talking about me. I think this is like season 1 where it's like a courtroom and everything's very serious, and all of a sudden the Kool-Aid Man busts through the wall. He's like, "Oh yeah," and everyone's just like looking at him, and he feels terrible. He's like embarrassed. He's like, "Uh-oh," and he kind of just like walks back through the hole he just busted through. For some reason, I thought that was the funniest shit I saw on TV for a long time. So I'll always never forget that particular scene there. So that's like a pretty epic moment. But yeah, Family Guy, that is celebrating 25 years. That is a very tough accomplishment that for anything, for any show, relationship, or what have you. Cool. Let's see what else here. I guess one of the last big topics to really talk about. Well, there's 2 that we could go on about. Well, there's 3. All right, let's do these in rapid motion here. Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts are making a lot of headlines with a lot of the casting they've been doing there. I know a lot of people are kind of tired of the MCU right now. I think Deadpool 3 will give it a shot to kind of, give it MCU. First of all, it's the only movie coming out for the Marvel Universe this year. So that's it. I think we have a show or 2 on Disney Plus coming out this year. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Deadpool 3 coming out, I think that's going to give us a chance to kind of fall in love with the Marvel Universe all over again, if done right. But they have been making a lot of announcements as far as casting news is concerned for this Thunderbolts movie that they're putting together, which is an interesting premise all in all, because it's a team up of a lot of anti-superhero people, right? So they just announced that Geraldine Viswanathan, who stars in Blockers and Miracle Workers, will replace Emmy winner Ayo Edebiri from The Bear and Bottoms in the cast of the Thunderbolts film at Marvel Studios. Eddie Barry has had to exit the project due to scheduling after production was delayed due to the strikes last year. The inclusion of Viswanathan, or Viswanathan, I don't know which is the better pronunciation there, marks the second strike-caused casting change following Steven Yeun's exit and replacement with Louis Pullman in the role due to similar conflicts. The cast joins Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova. Oh, I didn't even know I'm not on the screen. I'm sorry. Sebastian Stan as Winter Soldier, David Harbour as Red Guardian, Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, and Olga Kurylenko as Taskmaster. Jake Schreier is set to direct, with Kevin Feige producing the film, about a group of Marvel villains who are sent on missions commissioned by the government. Thunderbolts is gearing up to shoot shortly ahead of mid-2025 release. Viswanathan will be seen later this month in cinemas in Ethan Coen's Drive Away Dolls, which is one of the movies I included in Which Movies Are You Going to Watch in the month of February. The little poll I have on the channel there. So if you haven't participated in that in that poll, check it out. Because that is one of my movies that I'm looking forward to this month, Drive Away Dolls. I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan, or Coens. Well, yeah, they're brothers, but Coens, but I'm a huge fan of those guys, and I'm very much looking forward to this movie. It had Pedro Pascal in it too, so really, really fascinated to see how the movie's going to turn out. But the casting here, again, on paper sounds interesting. I love that we're bringing back characters that I feel like the MCU has kind of forgotten for a while, or they just been kind of holding back until now. The MCU is plagued. Let me repeat, plagued with characters that we've seen once and never seen again since. You know, what happened to Shang-Chi? You know, where's that character? I mean, despite his appearance in the Barbie movie, which I thought was very, very nicely done, we haven't seen Shang-Chi in a while. So what's happening there? What's happening to Hercules? We were introduced to Hercules at the end of one of them Thor movies. I forget which one, because the last couple were just like, you know, I don't know what's going on there. What happens to Harry Styles? You know, Harry Styles played a character. I forget. It was supposed to be like a cousin of Thanos or something. He showed up at the end of was it the Eternals with the troll voiced by Patton Oswalt, right? What happened? What happened to those guys? What happened to the rest of the Eternals? So I like that we're finally going to get to see more of these, especially like Florence Pugh's Yelena, because I thought she was a great character. And Florence Pugh, I mean, quality actress. So I thought she's great. Sebastian Stan will always be around as Winter Soldier. David Harbour as Red Guardian is great. Wyatt Russell, who we just saw in Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, and I think is fantastic. And his portrayal of U.S. Agent was jarring and very, very dark. And I love that. And I felt they could have like gone further with that, but because of the whole Disney thing, they were holding back. I want to see more of that grittiness. I want to see more of that darkness. I really want him to be really, really bad. So hopefully we'll get more of that there. Ghost was someone that showed up briefly, and I thought was like a throwaway. But it looks like we're going to get her back. And Taskmaster in the comics was always one of my favorites. I love Taskmaster because it's that concept of someone who can mimic your moveset or what you do just by observing you. I always thought that character was awesome. And the portrayal that we got of Taskmaster was, ugh, what happened? But maybe we'll get more out of this one. So we'll see. We'll see. Doctor Strange warned him. And Shang-Chi had a beer. Is Shang-Chi drinking the beer made of Amaranth's vaginal yeast or Supergirl's kryptonite yeast? Let me know which one he's drinking. Or is he drinking the Barbie yeast? Who knows? Why are we talking about yeast? What the hell's going on this morning?
I'm gonna come.
So yeah, so I find that this bit of news interesting. I don't know how Thunderbolt's going to eventually end up, but I will always be a fan of Marvel. You know, I was always a fan of their comic books growing up. I love the animated shows that they had on TV. I still think the MCU can come back and be strong again. And I love that they're taking the time now to finally, take a step back and say, okay, we need to reconfigure, readjust, and maybe this could be something that could be worthwhile. We'll see. Let me know in the comments if you're excited for this or not. Another bit of news here I wanted to talk about, which is interesting, especially since I am a movie guy and we always talk about movies here, is according to some form of algorithm, most watched movies on streaming in 2023 in ranking order. So number one, you have Moana, thanks to Disney Plus. You have Encanto, thanks to Disney Plus. The Super Mario Brothers movie, no surprise there, because I think that was like one of the biggest hits from last year outside of Barbie. Elemental, because most people didn't go to the theaters to watch it, and they waited for Disney Plus to watch it, and they finally did. And they're probably like, hey, this is not a bad movie. Minions, The Rise of Gru. Okay, you notice the pattern here? The majority of the most watched movies on streaming last year are all animated. Why? Because of kids and families. Because families rarely go to movies anymore. And when it comes to kids, it's hard to bring them to movies unless you know it's something that they're going to be able to sit down through. Especially when you're paying all the money that you're paying to go to the movies, with ticket prices and concessions. So doesn't surprise me that we're seeing nothing but animated here. So we got Minions, we got Sing 2, Frozen, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Avatar, The Way of the Water, and Glass Onion. Most watched movies on streaming as of 2023. Like I said, no big surprise for me here. I think the only thing that really stands out is that we're seeing still a lot of older movies pop up. Like people are still going crazy watching Frozen. Here's what's happening. You have parents who are turning on the movie and letting it play in the background. And then kids are like, again. Like, all right, we'll watch it again. And that's how the algorithm is getting all skewed there. So yeah. That's what's happening. Oh, is Shang-Chi drinking MCU juice? MCU. Oh, the MCU. Oh, everything is woke. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah! I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not. I already talked about Pokimane. That's going to be my controversial topic for the morning. So let's leave it at that. So that was something interesting to do. And last, as the main thing here, Universal Orlando Resort unveils epic Universal Celestial Park, teases Harry Potter, How to Train Your Dragon lands. Now, I am a huge amusement park guy. I love going to Disney when I can. Universal in Orlando needs a lot of work, but it is fascinating what they did with the Harry Potter land there. Fan or not, it is a fantastic thing that they put there and they were able to accomplish there. And if you go to these locations in Japan, it's very different too, because Universal usually has tie-ins with anime related properties. So they had like a One Piece thing going on there for a while, if you're a fan of that. And Tokyo Disney is just one of those cool things where, you could really tell that they placate to the culture there, where the food's a little different. The Haunted Mansion is a little different because it's more themed towards Nightmare Before Christmas, which I thought was great. They finally brought to the States, but only during Halloween seasons, right? To make it a little bit exciting. So when I hear news like this, it kind of, I get excited. So it says here, set to open in 2025. NBC Universal's newest Florida-based theme park will feature 5 immersive lands, which also include the movie Monsters-inspired Dark Universe, which is fascinating, and the previously announced Super Nintendo World. Super Nintendo World is already open in the Los Angeles Universal. But for me personally, I'm waiting for it to open up in Orlando because I'm sure it's going to be bigger and better. Star Lord, you don't agree with woke MCU? Not necessarily. No, I get why people have that perception, especially when you have movies like The Marvels, Black Widow, and you see a lot of the characters and the new main characters that we're being introduced to are female. I get that. I get why people perceive that. And maybe I blame kind of the creative behind it all with putting forth those storylines. But I don't think it's woke MCU for the sake of being woke MCU. I think this is just something that they had planned out. And because it came out in abundance, it just seems like it's getting forced down our throats that way. But I don't necessarily agree that the MCU is woke or they're trying so hard to be woke. I think that is just something that turned out. Now, I could be completely wrong. I am not in these meetings. I am not behind the scenes sitting down with Kevin Feige or what have you. Kathleen Kennedy, at least on the Star Wars side of things, I do feel like she does have that agenda in her, you know, with putting forth a lot of female, like, strong characters out to the forefront. But when it comes to the MCU, I don't think that's 100% the case. Now, like I said, I could understand the perception of it, but I don't think that was their main intention. And they're not trying to be woke. I just think there are an abundance of characters that are female that they push to the forefront very close together and all at once. And if you give the chance to, you know, at least watch these shows and, you know, watch the movies, then there's merits behind the inclusion of these characters. Has it always been done 100% correctly or 100% in a way that you're like, wow, this was really good? Definitely not. You know, the MCU has been very poor lately, and I've been very adamant and outspoken about it. Secret Invasion was trash, and it was never supposed to be trash. You know, you had Sam Jackson coming back and Nick Fury that everyone was waiting for, and it turned up to be trash. You know, plus the whole thing that they did with Emilia Clarke's character, the Super Skrull, like, what is that about? You know, the whole thing about Rhodey being in captivity for a long time, maybe possibly going back to Civil War. Like, since when was that a thing? You know, that's trash. She-Hulk, trash. Was good in the beginning, and then it felt like they just didn't know how to end it. And it turned out being trash. And that's a character I always said was going to hop around. I never thought that character was going to have a show that continued for multiple seasons. She needed an introduction, and now she's going to be one of those characters that you're just going to see pop up from time to time, until they figure out if they're including her into the new Avengers or West Coast Avengers, if they do that or whatever the case is. You know, Echo wanted to like it, really did. And I'm not going to call it trash, but it wasn't great. I really wanted to like it, you know. But again, you're giving us a character that, is she necessary? Is she going to play a big part in this Daredevil universe that we're getting? You know, I felt like that show was done to really more give us Kingpin and what our expectations and excitement would be for Kingpin, which is a disservice to the main character that they're trying to promote and to the actress. You know, because I said it during my review, I don't know if we're ever going to see this character again. And to be quite honest with you, if we don't, I don't think I would bat an eye. It's unfortunate. You know, and I can go on and on and on about that stuff like that. But I just think Deadpool has a chance to reset things. Reset the bar for Marvel so that Marvel can pick itself back up again. And I've said this for a while. I think Marvel will get its second wind the moment they can fully introduce the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Once we get that and we get that whole thing started, and now we're kind of past the whole Jonathan Majors Kang situation for the most part. We still don't know what their overall plan is. Get ourselves out of that. Maybe make Doctor Doom a main focus. I love the High Evolutionary. I can't. I could see them maybe weaving his way into it a little bit because he's still around, you know. But I truly feel like once we can get those two main properties out the door, then things could be exciting again. And then eventually, of course, we're going to get our new Avengers team and what have you. So we'll see what happens. Star-Lord saying, I think we need more movies to watch in theaters, not shows. I 50-50 agree with you. As long as we don't get too much, I think it's just balance. I think the problem is we got the shows and then we got hit with the pandemic, and then there was a feverish rush to put out as many shows as they can in a very short period of time. It wasn't spaced out. We weren't allowed to breathe. And then on top of that, we were supposed to keep track of the shows and the movies all together. You still had movie releases coming out twice a year or 3 times a year, with maybe 5 shows coming out the year. There's just too much, you know. So I do agree that the movies do perform better, but you got to give us good quality movies, you know. So if they stick to the 1 movie a year or 2 movies a year, I think that's like the sweet spot. But do the same thing for the shows. Don't give us so many shows, and don't make it so that we have to, you know, keep up with everything, because it's just too much. I've said it before, they're treating their movie and TV business like the comic book industry, where you could shove out 50 different titles a month and people are expected to keep track of everything. The TV and movie audiences are very different. They won't do that. You know, people are going to be lost. People are going to lose interest. People are going to end up just watching maybe YouTube recaps of everything to get caught up to speed. You know, but you're wasting so much money on producing these things. You got to give us a chance to breathe and catch up, or make it so much so that it doesn't have to necessarily tie all together. You know, I would love it if the new Daredevil show is truly treated like the Netflix shows, where it exists in the same universe, but they don't tie it at all. They remain on its own, and there's no cameos, there's no tie-ins. It's very ground level. They do their own thing. Now, of course, you could maybe say, well, Daredevil has run-ins with Spider-Man. True. And you could do that. That's perfectly fine. But I don't need to see Daredevil fighting Kang, you know, or teaming up with Captain America. You know, in the comic book world, that will work. Let's not do this with our MCU, because it won't work. If anything, it's going to be like, you're going to be like, what the fuck's happening? It's going to end up like Secret Invasion. And obviously we don't want that. So we'll see. We'll see. But thank you for bringing me on that tangent. I love going off on tangents like that. It's great conversation, you know. So, and you know, of course, you know, people are going to disagree, agree, whatever the case is. But if we could have a decent conversation about it, that's the best part, you know. And I love that. I wish we could have more of that. But you know, the internet will be the internet, and such is life. Secret Invasion in my beer bottle. Yes. Secret Invasion was definitely made off of the yeast of some poor sap. And the emoji you put of throwing up, that was me after watching that show. All right. So let's continue on with this article here. Universal Orlando Resort has revealed the first official look at one of the 5 new lands slated to open as part of Universal's Epic Universe Park and confirm the themes of 3 additional lands. Look at this picture. This is Celestial Park. That's, of course, this is just a render, but I mean, this is what to expect. On Tuesday, the Florida-based NBC Universal Theme Park and Resort teased Celestial Park, a land that embodies the literal park experience with lush living gardens, shimmering waterways, and stroll-worthy paths alongside astronomical and mythological inspired architecture. It also confirmed the themes of Epic Universe's 3 previously unannounced parks beyond Super Nintendo World, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Here's another picture of Celestial Park. That looks nice. Universal Epic Universe marks a huge transformational moment for Universal Orlando Resort, and it will change everything about our destination. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see here. Grand centerpiece of Celestial Park is Constellation Carousel. It kind of looks like Tomorrowland, to be honest with you, if we were to compare it to Disney. Among the park's other attractions is the Starfall Racers, yada, yada, yada. It looks like a combo of like Tomorrowland, Epcot, all that stuff. But, you know, Universal needs this. They need kind of like a reset because a lot of Universal's areas is very underutilized and feels dated, very dated. So I love that they're refreshing things here. I think it's going to give a lot of great reasons to go visit, especially now that you have, and look at this. I love how every park is going to have a tower here. From top left, Wizarding World of Harry Potter. This is the Ministry of Magic. Then you have Super Nintendo World, right? These are the portals going into them. Then you have the How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk. And then you have the Dark Universe. And the reason why the Dark Universe fascinates me is because that's what they were calling their like originally planned Universal Monsters universe of movies that they were all going to make, kind of like they were trying to copy the Marvel formula. And who remembers that infamous photo that was published when they made this announcement? Dark Universe cast. Let's see if this thing gets brought up. Here, this one. Who remembers this image? This infamous image here. And I'm gonna, let's see, I want to increase it. Oh, it won't do it the way I want it. Why are you not doing it? Here we go. There we go. So yeah, so I remember when they put this photo out there, and this was around the time that the Tom Cruise Mummy movie came out. That's why you have Sofia Boutella in the photo. I was like, wow, they are really, really trying hard to kind of capture that Marvel formula. You know, and the whole thing was you had Tom Cruise and Sofia Boutella that starred in The Mummy, right? That was going to kick things off. That was going to kick things off for their Dark Universe plan. You had Johnny Depp, who was going to play the Invisible Man. You had Russell Crowe here, who is going to play Jekyll and Hyde. And then you have Javier Bardem, who is going to be Wolfman. And they were so adamant and they were so hell-bent on making this universe happen. And then the Mummy movie came out. And it trashed. It got trashed. It bombed. It flopped. And all of this plan went right out the window. Goodbye. Ain't gonna do it no more. Which is so funny that they were so adamant about making this work, and they did so many promotions behind it. Like, look at this photo. Look at it. Look at these like top dogs in Hollywood right now. Well, with the exception of Johnny Depp, you know, but he definitely made waves during the whole Amber Heard trial. But yeah, so that's why I found this story fascinating, because they're basically bringing the name back for their park, for the park that they're working on. So the dark universe lives on as a universal island or experience. So yeah, so I'm sure that's going to be really interesting and fascinating. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's going to happen to the rest of the park, like the whole Jurassic Park part of it, the ET part of it, is I don't even the ET ride is still there and all of that. But I'm curious how that's going to play out with the rest of it there. Let me know in the comments in the chat. Have you been to Universal? When was the last time you were there? Which one of these parks would you go out and visit? I'm very curious as to all of that. All right. I think that's going to be it for news for this morning. So let's move on to what I like to call Binge of the Week. Binge on the Week. Binge on the Week. Let us go. Binge on the Week. All right. So this is a part of the morning stream here where I talk about the show or shows that I recently binge watched. And like I kind of hinted on, the show that I'm going to be talking about today is not what you're going to expect. It is a show on Netflix that already has had a season 1 before, and season 2 just recently released. And I was super excited for it because I didn't expect that I was going to be touched with season 1 when I first watched it. And it was like one of those like pandemic watches where I was just home and, I was just like chilling out and I decided to pop it on. And this type of show is not normally a show that I am attracted to. I don't like reality shows. I don't like those like Love is Blind shows or whatever. I am not a fan of any of those things. Star-Lord saying, Johnny Depp has had too many beers. Yeah. He definitely has. And I'm pretty sure he has had beer off of the vaginal yeast of Amber Heard. Let's go.
I'm going to come.
But moving on. The show that I binged this past week, is season 2 of Love on the Spectrum. That's right. I am talking about Love on the Spectrum season 2. This is the US version. And yes, I did watch the original UK version as well. And I thought it was brilliantly done. These are some of the cast of our season 2. Many of them are returning faces from season 1. And basically the premise behind this show is they made a dating documentary style show, but featuring people who are autistic. And I thought that was a very touching and sweet way of doing this stuff, because autism is one of those kind of unique things where anyone around you could be autistic and you'll never know, right? But it is a condition that these people have, that they look at things differently, they act differently sometimes. They see the world in a different light. You always hear about people being on the spectrum, or kind of little bit on the spectrum or way into the spectrum, like that. People sometimes when they hear autism, they think of Rain Man, which is an extreme case. And you do get some people like that on this show who are like that, but at the same time, they're like you and I. They just want to be able to have friends and eventually have love and meet their true match. And this show helps that. And the first season, like I said, I wasn't expecting to get hooked on it, but I got hooked on it hard. And I got emotional because at the end of the day, I just wanted to root for everybody. I wanted everyone to find their person, You know, everyone has their very cute characteristics, their quirks, and you'll learn that, you know, a lot of them are just, they're just trying to live a normal everyday life. It's just people see them differently and they are a little different, and some things they struggle with, and sometimes social interactions is one of them. And the way they kind of portrayed them in season 1 was extremely sweet and fair, and it felt very natural. Not like how a lot of these other shows, how it felt like they were, like, I feel like other shows, they try to push them into situations and scenarios for the sake of television. But a lot of the moments that happened in season 1 felt natural. And, you know, the season 1 ended with some of them finding a match, kind of fingers crossed, hoping like they you know, happily ever after. Some of them were kind of just, you know, didn't work out, but wish them the best. So I love how now we have season 2, and we get kind of a recap or catch up with some of the people we met from season 1, because they did come back. And we get introduced to some new people as well, right? So what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to run down some of the characters here and explain kind of what I liked about them and what I liked about them in this season, because I do have a favorite. She cracks me up. She really cracks me up, because every dating show, every reality show, every housewives, they have that one person who is like the bombshell of the show. And you know, I mentioned before, kind of like the boss bitch, right? How Pokimane is like the boss bitch. We have a boss bitch on this show, and she fascinates me. Plus, I think out of everyone that we met in season 1 and season 2, she is the horniest.
Wow. I'm gonna come.
She is so damn horny. And she's even more so in this season. And it cracked me the fuck up. I thought it was hilarious. So let's just run down some of these characters here. And look, the show is not making fun of these people. They're not. They're just highlighting, and they're following them, and they're just helping facilitate meetings so that they could get matched or reconnect with somebody. And I love this show because, again, it feels pure. That's the one thing I love about people on the spectrum, autistic people, is that you're seeing their true selves most of the time. You have some people who do have different personality traits like narcissism and all that, and you could easily see that. But for the most part, they are their truest self. And I love that. You know, they're not putting on an act, at least as far as I know. I could be completely wrong. You know, so you're getting to see their pure self, and that's what we got in season 1. Unfortunately, in season 2, I do feel like they leaned in a little bit more in the scripted stuff, because I feel like a lot of the situations and scenarios that happen were totally scripted and done because of this show. I could be wrong, but that's the feeling I got, and that's something that I kind of was disappointed in seeing. You know, I was like, oh, this feels a little too scripted to me. And then there are just some families that just did not feel like real, like they were real. I was like, they took this one guy and plopped him into this almost TV perfect family. I don't understand it. It could be true, but it just felt different. You know, and I'll go about that, and I'll talk about that with every person here. So first we have James. James is a sweetheart. He is like everyone knows and has a friend who's like a nerd in their group. And this guy is one of them. He loves watching, you know, House of the Dragon, and he loves talking about medieval stuff. He's a big history guy. And his autism is to the point where he kind of has diarrhea of the mouth. He can't stop talking sometimes. And that is unfortunate, because when it comes to meeting people, you want to be able to allow them to talk too. He takes over the conversations a little bit too much. He probably also has the coolest dad in the entire show. Dad's very supportive, very old school, you know, and he gives them advice where it's like, James, the purpose of a first date is to make sure there's a second date. And what's the purpose of a second date? And James is like, I know. It's to get a third. That's right. Yeah, he's like one of those type of dads, you know, very, very sweet, very supportive. And I love that. So James, you know, last season, he was introduced to someone who he really liked, but she ended up not really liking him. They even went to the Ren Fair together and all that. They remain friends. And when we get introduced to James in this season, she's hanging out with him and his friends as part of the group, which was, wow, look at that. And he mentions that he's going to be dating again. And he kind of looks at her and is like, I hope you're okay with me talking about this stuff. She's like, I'm all for it. It's awesome. I'm like, all right. So, you know, he goes on a date. You know, she seems very sweet and they have a good time. But the common problems that I have with him and that I see is that he talks too much. And I feel bad for the other person because they don't get a say. He got actually pretty famous on Instagram because he got recognized. And one of the persons that he goes on a date with is someone that he met off of Instagram. And she's like a teacher and, you know, she found him attractive. So she came on over and they went on a date. But the thing about James is that James has this very strict checklist. And one of the things that he has on his checklist is that he doesn't want kids. And she wants a family. So he immediately brought up, like, oh, I don't think this is going to work out because I don't want kids. And you want a family and you have every right to want that. So it didn't work out. Then the second girl that he goes out with seems to go well and all that. But at the end of the day, you know, the season ends, the last episode ends with kind of like, where are they now kind of thing like that. And unfortunately, James, after the third date, it didn't work out afterwards. And I just unfortunately feel like it's because James has that thing where he just can't stop talking. And it's hard to have a conversation with James. So I feel so bad for James because he is, at the end of the day, a very sweet guy. Steve is a gentlemanly gentleman. He is very well spoken. I feel like he has a voice that is great for like audiobooks or voiceover work. He very much talks like this. And he's like, wow, it is a brilliant looking day today. The leaves are freshly green and the breeze in my face feels fantastic. He's very articulate and he is just another sweetheart of a guy. He's an older gentleman, which is, you know, kind of hard for him when it comes to meeting somebody. But I love him because he has just this very optimistic like view on life. And he does understand that, you know, he is very hard to find love and he feels lonely sometimes. Yeah, and things didn't work out with him in season 1. Season 2, now this is the first instance of, wait a minute, what is this show trying to do? Because all of a sudden, the date that they matched him with was this older lady from Israel who was just way over the top. She is dressed like very sexy, like kind of boobs all out, very, very flirtatious and very aggressive, you know? And you could tell immediately, it's like, wait a minute, this is not someone Steve's going to like. And you could tell it was very overwhelming for Steve. You know, she was like constantly like talking to him about, do you think I'm pretty? Or, you know, kind of like that type of like conversation. And how like, oh, there has to be chemistry, you know, physical chemistry too. And, you know, you can't be shy to kiss and all that. And you could tell like things were just moving way so fast for Steve. And I was like, where did they get this lady from? Because this lady just doesn't look like she belongs on this show. She was just way over the top. And then she's like, oh, I was in the Israeli army, but I was like special forces. So I have a lot of secrets. And if you want to know my secrets, you're going to have to find out. Like that, like she's just very, very flirtatious. And I was just like, my gosh, this is painful to watch. So obviously things didn't work out with Steve there. And I feel bad. And we left Steve just, again, not finding love whatsoever. And I felt so bad for him. We have David. David, who is in a relationship with Abby. They hooked up. I don't want to say hooked up. They connected in season 1. And at first it didn't look like it was going to work out because Abby has that dream of her boyfriend should treat her like a princess, and she needs to be kind of waited on, and everything has to be to her liking. That's just her quirk, right? But David is very accommodating, and he really cares for Abby and does basically everything for her. And Abby grew a liking to David eventually. She was able to become comfortable because she's very uncomfortable around people that she doesn't know. And David treats Abby like a princess. But at the same time, and you see it especially in this season, David has a way to calm her down too. Like when she gets too over anxious or overzealous, he is like a voice of reason. And it's like, it's okay. Whatever happens, this will do this. And then you see her kind of calming down. She's like, okay. And according to her mom, it's very hard to do that. So I found this to be very cute. And I was so happy to see that they're together. She does this funny thing where she'll tell David, like, oh, David, you're the best. And then they kiss. And then when she's done kissing him, she kind of poses to the camera and she's like, thank you. And I thought it's like the sweetest thing. It's like so funny because she really has this persona like she's a princess, So what happens in this season is that one of the first conversations they had is that they love animals, especially lions. And David and Abby said it'll be great if one day they can go on a safari to Africa. Well, in this episode, David takes her to Africa and they go on a safari in Africa, which was very sweet, but also felt very scripted because I don't know David. I don't know David's family. Can David's family afford a trip to Africa like that? Who knows? Maybe. Or maybe the show paid for them to go to Africa and just follow them along the way. But at the end of the day, they went to Africa. They're still very much in love. And it was just very sweet seeing them together like that. And Abby looks like she's dealing with her autism very well. She was struggling a lot with it in season 1. She seems very adjusted, but the team up and chemistry between the two really helps her. And I think is very sweet. It's like one of the sweetest stories of this season. So I think that's awesome. Here is my favorite. Let's go. Danny. Danny is the show's bombshell, typical Real Housewives person. Now you look at Danny, she's like, wow, she's an attractive girl. She is. But she has a list you have to meet. She is very particular with her criteria. She is, first of all, she has a very sad story. She lives with her aunt and uncle because it sounds to me, and I don't recall if they really went into it in season 1, but it sounds to me her parents couldn't deal with her and her autism. So they let her move in with the aunt and uncle. Yes, hearts in the chats. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Bring it. Danny had to live with her aunt and uncle. And you'll hear her mention it like about her parents and like the way she describes like, well, things didn't work out there. And that touched me. I was like, that is really sad. That's unfortunate. But she took that and she kind of made a business and life for herself. She's a huge fan of animation and anime and comic books. She created her own animation business that helps supports people on the spectrum to be creative and work on their animation and their creativity. She has this 5-year, 10-year plan, boss bitch style. I mean, she's going to do this, she's going to do that. She dresses like someone who lives in Beverly Hills. They are in Los Angeles, by the way. So she has this, she has her shit together, which is fantastic. And she wants her partner to be the same way. And her partner has to be the main thing that has to be number one on the list, has to work in animation. Because the minute she finds out that you don't, interest goes way out the window. She is so particular about all that stuff. And like I mentioned before, Danny is extremely horny. All she does is talk about sex. And she wants sex bad. She wants in season 1, she found the first person she went on a date with very attractive. She ended up kissing him and making out with him. And she knew that was a bad thing to do, but she couldn't hold her urges. And she has a lot of urges. She's talking to her aunt about sex a lot in this season, and the person that she goes out on a date with, she found attractive, but he lives in San Diego and she's in LA, and the distance didn't work out. So she immediately no, not going to work. But someone that she met in season 1, she remained friends with, and she developed a crush on him. Right. So they try to kind of meet each other again. And it turns out that he is not really on that same level. So she's very heartbroken. She cries and she's like, all she wants to do is find the person for her. And then she thinks of another friend that she met in season 1. Sorry. The person that didn't like her, we did not see him in season 1. It was this next guy that we saw in season 1. They reconnect because they hung out at Comic-Con together at a local comic convention, and sparks kind of flew. They had this very cringe moment where they were interacting with a voice actor who did voices of cartoons from like the 90s. And you could tell the voice actor was just happy to be on TV. I don't remember the name right now on the top of my head. And he was hamming it up for the TV. And I was like, oh God, this is terrible. This is just not cool. So that was like, again, one of the moments of the show. I was just like, oh God, how scripted can we get here? But it looks like Danny and this guy are getting along. But one of the first questions she asked was like, so what are your thoughts on sex before marriage? And she was just like she needs to know because she wants to do the deed. It sounds like she wants to get that out of the way. And like I said, she is a very attractive lady, and she's very quirky, but she is by far my favorite of the show. And as of right now, it looks like things were going well between the two. So Tanner is a new character we got introduced to. He is very in your face, very outspoken, very sweet guy. But this is one of the two that were newly introduced and have families that I'm just like, wait a minute, this doesn't compute for me for whatever reason. He has a mom that looks like she belongs on Real Housewives of something. She is dressed to the nine. She's very makeup-y and done up. And it just feels different. It feels like awkward in a way. He goes on a date. He also doesn't know how to conversate very well. So I don't think things worked out with the date. But we got to see him a day in the life of what he does. He's very close with his sister, which is very sweet. And he works at a hotel, and he's very much loved with everyone. And he seems like a very sweet guy. He's going to have a hard time because of a conversation, and I feel really bad for him. So that's Tanner. Connor, my heart goes out to Connor because I feel a lot of me in Connor sometimes. He gets nervous. He seconds guesses himself. He is sometimes doubtful in the choices and decisions he makes. And I feel for him. He is a very good looking guy, as you can see. His family is like your typical American family that you would find on Friday Night Lights or something like that. The mom is gorgeous. She has a new husband who, I don't know, he doesn't talk a lot. He has 4 siblings, I think. All of them could be models. I mean, it's just crazy. His sister's gorgeous. His brother's handsome. And then all the other pictures, like this is like your typical Abercrombie family. And the mom is very like a motivational speaker type. So I'm just thinking, like, where did they find this family from? It's like this family was created just to be on TV. It was just nuts. And but they love him to death and they think the world of him. And he goes to a speed dating event. And the funniest moment in this season is during the speed dating event. He's meeting someone and they're having this small conversation and you have a sheet, right? You're supposed to mark yes or no. While he's still talking to them, he's already marking no, and they see this. After 2 times, you hear the guy behind the camera going up to them and say, "Hey, Connor," he's like, "Are you marking down no while you're still talking to them?" And he's like, "Yeah, am I not supposed to?" It's like, "No, I think that's kind of rude. You should at least wait for them to kind of leave and then do so." And he's like, "Damn it, I knew I messed that up." It was just so innocent and sweet, and then he bumps into someone he knew that he worked with at that speed dating event, and then he flips out because they get along really well, and he flips out to the point where he has to step outside and he's having a monologue with himself. Now, Connor loves Transformers, especially the Michael Bay movies. He knows every line of dialogue. And you hear him outside, "Come on, Optimus Prime would say this." And he's quoting lines from the movie. It's like, "I need to have courage," and da-da-da-da. And I feel so bad for him. And the reason why he's flipping out is because she's like a friend, and he's afraid if he tries to go romantic with her, it's going to ruin the friendship. Everyone thinks that, right? At one point or another. And I feel for this guy. So eventually he does try to take a stab at dating this friend, and turns out it didn't work out. And he had the courage to call her and say, "Hey, I appreciate the time with you, but I think we're better as friends, and I still really want to hang out with you as friends." And she agreed, and, basically the mom is so happy. Star-Lord, no problem. Go ahead, recharge your phone. Again, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me this morning. Always a pleasure to see you. Yeah, and if you do check out the show, let me know. I'm curious as to what you think about it. So that didn't work out. And then one of the ladies that he marked no to, he had a second thought about it. He's like, maybe I was too hasty, because I'm very attractive to her. So they reconnect, they go out, it seems to be going well. And then there was this weird moment where they tried to hold hands. And the minute he held her hand, something in him changed. And it was kind of hard to watch because I felt bad for her, because I felt like she had the feeling like maybe she was getting rejected, but he was trying to explain that it's not that. It's just, it's scary. It's very scary for him, and he's afraid of change, and he's afraid of this new kind of thing that he's experiencing. So I don't think things worked out there. I forgot how things ended up with him, but I felt for this dude. But his family is fascinating. Like, that family could easily have their own show. Oh, and the one thing that also was very emotional and touching about his story is that he has no friends. And that's the thing that the mom was very nervous and sad about, is that all he does is stay home. And she brought it up in a way that I thought was very touching. It's like every message that he receives on his phone, every phone call that he gets is from us. I don't see him getting this from anybody else. And I just want that to change for him. It's so sweet, so touching, so emotional. So I really, really enjoyed meeting Connor. Lastly, here we have Journey, who is 18. Star-Lord, salute to you. Catch you next time. Have a good one. I don't know if it's morning, day, or night where you are, but what is it that they say in that movie? Good morning, good day, and good night. And if I don't see you, to be my best Jim Carrey there. But thank you again. Journey, who is 18 years old. She was recently diagnosed as being autistic. So I thought that was very, very cute and sweet. she too has a family that looks like was made for television. They when I say that, it's just the family looks way too comfortable to be on TV. I didn't feel that in the first season, but definitely here in this season. And it turns out that Journey is lesbian. So it was really interesting to see her understand what she's interested in, understand also that she has this thing that a lot of people are going to shy away from. And she goes on a first date and she's very nervous and she can't look at the person, but she's very sweet girl. And she went on 2 dates. The second one she went on a date with, I thought that girl was so aggressive with the flirting. Like, she just kept throwing in there. They were looking at flowers. And she's like, oh, these flowers are so pretty. And she's like, yeah, they're pretty, just like your eyes. And I was just like, oh my God, she wants to eat her up. It's like very heavily layered on. And I remember the ending blurb is that they went on a couple more dates, but it ended up going no further than that. And I think it's because with someone like Journey, you have to be kind of slow. And I think that the person that she went out with was way too aggressive, way too aggressive. But yeah, that is season 2 of Love on the Spectrum. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I didn't think it was as good as the first season. This season, for whatever reason, felt it was a little bit more scripted. Plus, I also felt it was cut short. Like we were introduced to at least 3 different new characters, and I felt we didn't really get any solid conclusion with them. It was kind of just like cut, and then that's it. And then we got the blurb at the end of it all. So that was like a downer for me, to be honest with you. But it was nice to see and get caught up with, people that we were introduced to in the first season, with Abby and James, just to name a few. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know if season 3 is in the works. This was all filmed in 2022. So it was really interesting to hear them do references about 2022. So who knows? We shall see. I think the UK show lasted 3 seasons. So I don't know if we'll see a season 3 here. But if we do, I really hope they take a step back and they shy away from more of the scripted stuff and let things be a little bit more natural. I really hope they do that if season 3 is in the works there. So yeah, so I'm curious, is Love on the Spectrum even on your radar as far as something you would watch? Did you watch the first season like me? Did you see the second season yet? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching on the replay here. So yeah. So look, I know I streamed late this morning. It is now approaching 12:30. I think we're going to call it here. Thank you again for those who hopped on, who joined in on the live stream this morning. Love having conversations with Star-Lord there and any of you. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for watching and for tuning in. As always, you can show your appreciation by hitting that like button. Check out the affiliates that we have in the description of this episode if you want to further support the channel. Memberships are open at the 1 tier that we have now for as little as $1. You can contribute and support the channel on a monthly basis there. I will be announcing and introducing the other tiers I'll be offering shortly. So stay tuned for that. I'll talk about all those things there. And of course, if you want to hear me and Blake on the podcast, Movie Time, check out Movie Time through the Low Key Geek channel on your podcast platform of choice. New episodes upload every Sunday. So I am going to head on out. Enjoy the rest of your week, rest of your Wednesday. I will be back streaming live again on Friday. I know the Sony State of Play is going to be later today, so I'll be recapping my thoughts on the State of Play this Friday. So stay tuned for that. Plus, I will be giving my review on the new movie Argyle that will be releasing this week. So I'll be checking that out, and I'll be giving my review on my Friday stream. So with that all being said, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. I will catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody. Bye-bye.